Good morning, everybody. How are we all? We're good? Fantastic. Excellent. This is Joel, guys.
What's up, people?
I think it's his first time of welcoming. Yeah,
Yes,
is it first time?
it is.
Amazing.
My first time.
But Joel, what is your why? Why are you so invested in this community?
So my why is, first off, I work in a bunch of different youth environments here at Gracegate, Oasis, Fuel, Radiate. And last year, I had a big impact with God, and he pretty much transformed my whole life. And then he called me into doing youth work, so I had a completely different profession before. I was an electrician, and he called me into it, started volunteering, and then ended up getting a job here at Gracegate. And it's just been awesome working here and serving here. And God's just really put a passion on my heart for the young people since I started. And that's it.
Amazing.
And what about you, Kalia?
So yes, my name is Kalia. This community has been amazing to me my whole life, and they've really invested in my life as I've grown up and been through the youth environments myself. And so I've really wanted to give back to the same community and do the same thing that they did for me and help the next generation. Yeah.
Nice.
If it is your first time here, welcome. It is so lovely to have you here this morning. We've got a couple of sayings that we just want you to know about our mission here. And our first one is that you don't have to believe to belong.
And of course, there is no perfect people allowed.
I want to hear you singing this morning. Let's do this. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. I am yours. I am yours. Come on. I know who I am. Oh, I know who I am. confident that I am loved. I know who I am. I am alive. I've been set free. I belong to you. You belong to me. Oh, I know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. I am yours. I am yours. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. I am yours. I am yours. And you are mine. Jesus, you are mine. 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 Yes, He is. Amen.
One of my favourite passages in the Bible is found in Matthew 5, and it's this passage where Jesus is on a mount and he's talking to his followers and he's sharing these things called the Beatitudes. And these Beatitudes, they start with this first line, and it says, "Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Blessed are those who are lonely, who are overwhelmed, who are struggling. Blessed are those who are dealing with grief." I've lost it. Blessed are those who care for others, who are peacemakers. Blessed are those who have enemies. And one of my favourite songs we're going to sing now is called Never Walk Alone. And these two passages to me relate really well. That in those moments when you're blessed because God's walking with you. You're blessed because He's never abandoned you. You're blessed because His heart is for you, His ear is listening. He's your strength, your shield, and you can be confident because He's gone before you. I'm running out of breath. But my challenge for you as we sing this song is remember that you are blessed. Whatever you're struggling with right now, whatever you're going through, that God is your strength, He's your shield, and you never, ever walk alone.
Your heart is for me. Your ear is listening. I'm safe in your love. Your army of angels watch over me. You're always present. You're always with me. For all of my life, your favor has followed. You're my covering. my strength and shield, and I have confidence. You go before me. You're my deliverer. I know I never walk alone. I've never been abandoned. You are my inheritance. You are my strength and shield, and I have confidence. You go before me. You're my deliverer. I know I never walk alone. Every hour, every minute, you have always been there. You are faithful, and you always will be. In every trial, every failure, you are loyal to me. You are faithful, and you always will be. You are faithful, and you always will be. You are faithful, and you always will be.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much that we don't have to walk alone. No matter what we've been through or where we've come from, you're a God that is there for us. And I'm so thankful that your presence is always in this place and always around us. And I pray that each person here, as we've been singing these songs, that their hearts are just opened a little bit more to a God who is for them, who loves them, and gives them the comfort that they need to get through anything in life. Whether you're feeling anxious, worried, or you're missing a loved one, God is for you and there for you. And He gives you this hope that He died on the cross for us, that we may see the people that we are missing or loving. And you're an awesome God, and we love you in your name.
As we sing those songs, like, my heart just really hopes and prays that if you don't know God, and if you don't relate to those songs and when we're singing, that you'll just keep showing up here in this community and just be open to who He might be. Because for us who've really found faith and relationship with God, He's radically transformed our lives. And to have Joel intro our morning and do a welcome, and significantly how God showed up in his life, and he's just got a passion now to make a difference in young people's lives is seriously awesome, isn't it? Isn't it cool? On Monday night, we had a whole bunch of our volunteers, and I know so many of you weren't there on Monday night, but we were hearing story after story after story of people's lives being significantly transformed by God, and through us just having an open posture and being willing to be used by God. And so I just want to start off this morning to say thank you to everyone who contributes, to everyone who shows up, to everyone who spends late nights with our young people, investing in them, or everyone who comes and contributes to leading in worship, or cooking meals for the homeless, or spending time with vulnerable people. Just thank you for what you're doing. God is up to something good, and keep showing up and keep being here, because we just want to continue to see God work in and through us. Are you ready for another Saturday? We've been journeying in this series called Renew, and today's our kind of last session of this series, Renew. And I want to start off with a question. And that question is, like, have you ever felt yourself being stuck? Arriving at a certain place in life and wondering, maybe just lifting your head for a moment and being like, how in the world did I get you? You ever been stuck before? Ever wondered, how did I get you? Like there was no intention for me to be at this spot, but I had arrived. And a couple of years ago, before COVID hit us, my wife and I had the incredible opportunity of traveling to Peru. And one of the cool, exciting things that was on our bucket list there was to go to the Amazon forest or the jungle. This was something exciting that we were highly expectant of, and so we got in a bus when we were in one of the capital cities, and we traveled for a couple of hours to this river. And on this river, we would catch this boat over here. I got a photo of it. If you can see it, it's not the greatest photo, but that's the boat that we would board with probably about 12 or 15 others of us. And then we would be on this boat for a couple hours upriver, and then we would arrive at this eco lodge in the Amazon jungle. And we were excited about this. I mean, if you're like me, you've watched Anaconda before, right? And so you had so much expectation of like what this adventure could be. And I can remember a moment, we were kind of sitting right in front of the boat, looking at my wife and just, cruising upriver, and we're just like, man, life is good. Life is really good. But as we started to look at the banks, we saw that, there were numerous people, but as we continued to travel up, we were really getting to the middle of nowhere. We saw less and less people. But one thing we also realized was that the boat was starting to travel a lot slower. And slower and slower. And at one time, I was actually wondering if we were actually moving forward at all, because we were going up current. And everyone on the boat was kind of also, questioning and looking at each other, and the boat wasn't sounding that good, and we were looking at the captain right at the back, and he just, kept straight ahead, didn't even flinch or blink at anything. But at one point, we realized that boat wasn't going forward anymore, and we started to drift. And we could see that there was a bit of panic, and at one point, we had drifted right to the side of the bank, and the captain kind of communicated in his broken English that we were stuck and we were stranded, and that he had a cell phone, but that there was no signal. And so we just thought, well, he's probably in some way going to fix it. And what was a few minutes turned into a few hours, and we realized we weren't going anywhere. And everyone on the boat was getting kind of anxious now, and a number of us needed to use the restroom, but no one wanted to kind of go onto the banks because it was just the jungle out there. And I have a few photos of things that we did see in there. That was the boat kind of packing up. But if we go to the next photo, we can see like there's all these weird things, right, that are just hiding amongst the bush and the stuff. Can you see that? And then there were some of these weird things as well. Isn't she brave? It's actually just the skeleton of one of them, so it's not even alive. But our guide who was showing us some of these things, he showed us there's like these holes where the tarantulas actually live. And when he showed us this, we looked around and there were just literally hundreds of holes around us. And so you can imagine, we've watched Anaconda, there's anxiety, but there's this tension. People are jumping off the boat quickly to go into the bush and do their thing and then jump back on the boat. But luckily at some points another boat arrived. And as they were getting and trying to fix it, we heard this big splash and something had dropped into the river. And for the next couple of hours, they were searching in the river to find, I think it was like a bolt or propeller or something. The good news is we got unstuck and we arrived at our destination late at night. watching the full moon, and it was, what should have been a couple of hours was almost half a day, but we arrived. But have you ever been stuck in your life, right? Like really stuck. And we ask ourselves, like, how did I get you? How did I get you? And after a series like this, we've been giving some practical steps every single week of how we can grow in our relationship with God, how we can grow in our faith journey. But yet I know we'll still arrive, and it's so easy to get stuck. The author of Hebrews, speaking to some Jewish Christians, he says this: at a time that was really difficult for these Christians, he says this. He says, we must pay the most careful what? Attention, therefore, to what we have heard, so that we do not drift away. So that we do not drift away. And I don't know about you, but generally when we drift, we don't drift into good places. Generally when we drift into dangerous spaces. And so the author here, encouraging these Christians, says, hey, we must pay attention. Like, we got to focus. We got to make sure that we don't drift, because we naturally drift if we got no power behind us. The term that I would use is this, that we drift by what? Neglect. We drift by inattention. When we're not paying attention anymore, when we're not focused, we tend to drift, all right? And the thing that I want to encourage us with today, or maybe discourage us, is this, that you won't accidentally drift closer to Jesus. It's not going to happen. We're not accidentally going to drift into an incredible relationship with Jesus. Just like we're not accidentally going to be extremely fit and healthy if we're not exercising or going to the gym. It's the same thing. These practices that we've been learning about week after week after week, if we know them and we've heard this information, we've got to live it out. We've got to practice it in order to stay focused and to continue to grow. Does that make sense? We are not naturally going to drift into an incredible prayer life with God. We're not naturally going to drift into a place of knowing the Bible better. We're not naturally just going to drift to become generous people. We actually have to pay attention and actually live it out. This is, so what do we do? And so this is kind of the author later on in Hebrews, this is what he encourages this church to do. He says, hey, let's think of ways to then motivate one another to acts of love and good works. He says, hey, let's gather around and let's figure out how we can motivate each other to stay focused. And the main point of church and gospel and the kingdom is to really make a difference. It's to love others. It's to do good works. That's what Jesus modeled and showed us. And then the author would go on and he'd say this, and so let us not, what's the word? Say it again. Neglect, okay? So let's pay attention. Let's not neglect our meeting together. Hey, let's not neglect meeting together, being together. As some people do, he says, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. Here the author, speaking to an early church, is saying, hey guys, let's not neglect meeting together. Let's think of ways how we can continue to motivate each other towards acts of love and showing good works. And the way we do that is if we meet together, if we stay together. Now at Gracegate, if you've been here for a while, you would have heard some of these sayings that we often use. One of them is this. It says, life is what? Better connected. Life is better connected. Another saying that we often say is what? Circles are better than rows. In other words, what we mean there is that, hey, if we come to church, and this is great, like Saturdays are awesome, like sitting in a row and worshiping and learning and having a coffee with each other. Like, that's awesome. But really, the way we stay focused and the way we grow spiritually is when we move from these rows and we actually get into circles. When we get into small groups, when we get in proximity of each other and we get to know each other a bit better. Another saying that we've often used is this, that you can't grow spiritually unless you are connected relationally. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've had this mindset at times that, oh, you know, it's really just my personal faith journey with me and Jesus, and then I'll continue to grow. But actually, Jesus showed us that that's not really true. Like, yes, there is a personal faith journey between you and God, but really that needs to penetrate all your relationships. That needs to be lived out. That needs to make a difference in people's lives. And therefore, we say that, hey, you can't really grow spiritually unless you are connected relationally. And so our heart is, we're saying like, okay, so how do we make sure that we don't drift? How do we make sure that we stay focused? How do we make sure that we continue to grow? If it's not just me and God, and it has to be with other people, well, we say, hey, we want people to be in life groups. We want people to be connected. We want people to be known and needed. We want people to be seen. And we don't want you to just hide away in the back rows all the time, because we know that's not where great, authentic community really happens. And that is what church is really all about. And so today I want to encourage us again to see the value of connection and relationships and being in smaller groups, being connected in a life group, being around people who are actually there to challenge us and inspire us and to help us so that we don't neglect or pay inattention and start to drift away from who God is. And so today I've got just 3 points that I want to briefly go through. And basically, it's the ABCs of life groups. Well, what are life groups? Maybe you've heard us speak about this. We often say, hey, if you want to take your next step and join a life group, we want to encourage you to be part of a life group. So I want to tell you kind of what we think life groups is all about. And so the first thing about life groups is the A, and it is what? Accountability. Accountability. Do you have someone in your faith journey? Do you have someone in your life? Do you have someone in this church community who is holding you accountable so that you do not drift off course? One of the passages that we read is this, and I think it's Paul who shares this. If we go to the next slide. Oh no, sorry, it's in Proverbs. It says this, as iron sharpens iron, so what? One person sharpens another. In other words, the way we continue to grow in our faith journey, the way we continue to have an edge, all right, is how? Through one another. It's through relationship. It's through holding accountability. It's being close to each other where we actually know each other in a way that actually can sharpen each of us. Now, the best thought that I had, like, how do I explain this to this audience today? How do I give them a picture of what accountability looks like? And this is all I could come up with, was this picture. Do we know this? Any fans out there? UFC fans? All right. I'm not a big fan, but to tell you what, a couple of months ago, I watched Stylebender at Asana's, his story, his documentary, and it really inspired me, his journey. And then obviously, Drickus, being a South African, I was inspired to follow and see what's going on. But for those who don't know anything about UFC, it's basically mixed martial arts. They get in a ring and they fight till one of them gets either knocked out or taps out or the rounds are ended. But one of the things that is interesting about it is the way they hold each other accountable, right? Have you seen the press conferences and the way they talk about each other and the way they train? I was like, I couldn't believe the way these guys actually train so that they can actually get in the ring and kind of fight till the death, if you want to call it that. But wasn't it interesting this past Sunday when they fought, and then at the end of the rounds, they're best friends, right? And they're hugging each other and like everything is good. But one thing that stood out for me is Drekos' coach. And those of you who follow UFC, you'll see how he trains. And his coach actually tases them. Hey, have you ever heard of that? Go check it out online. I was amazed. Like his coach, like whenever they're in the training ground and they're getting a move wrong or they're not doing something right, the coach would warn them. And then also if they do it again, he'll ask them, he's like, hey, what have you done wrong? And if they can't really answer what it is, he'll give them a taser under their foot. And he said, like, this has just been something they've done for years, but eventually they got so used to that taser, they've ramped it up and they got a new one with some more power. I was like, man, imagine we could get this in church. Huh? Imagine if we could hold each other accountable with tasers. I mean, I think our faith journey would just grow exponentially. People would attend week after week after week. Everyone would be generous all the time. We would be praying consistently. Right? But here's the thing. This is kind of a picture, and this is what this author says. If we go to the next slide, he says this in Galatians. This is Paul speaking. He says, hey, dear brothers and sisters, if another what? Believer. In other words, this is speaking to believers, people who have placed their faith in Jesus. If you're not a believer, this isn't for you. But if you have placed your faith in Jesus and you consider yourself a Jesus follower or a Christian, this is for us. He says, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently, okay, not with a taser, but gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. Paul encouraging the church, he says like, hey, if we are drifting away, we as Christians, we as Jesus followers need to encourage and help each other get back on track. And that's the thing about accountability. And I mean, that's really hard to do if we're just sitting in rows. If we're just attending church, that's really hard because we're not fully known. But if we're in groups, if we're in a place where people actually know us and there's acceptance, that's where we can actually encourage each other. Hey, keep focused. Keep on the right track. You're drifting off. Like, that's not the way that's best for you. Come on back on track. So that's accountability. That's what we see life groups creates, that environment for us to actually be holding each other accountable and coaching and encouraging each other. The next thing is B for belonging. And we echo this week after week after week here at Gracegate. But the reality is belonging doesn't really happen in rows, right? Belonging only really happens when you're in spaces, in smaller groups where you can really feel that you are accepted and you are known and you are needed. Here's a verse. It's found in Romans, and it's speaking kind of about the body as the church. And Paul shares here, he says, for just as each one of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function. Got in the next one. So in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member what? Belongs to all the others. In other words, like the whole vision of faith and spiritual growth is that actually we belong, like we're part of this body. Each one of us is gifted differently, and we don't want to do life alone. Like we want to value every person because you are needed. Your gifts, your personality, your journey, your experience is needed. And the life group like environment creates this space where you can come as you are, that you'll be accepted, that you can actually, you don't have to be perfect. You can just share your story and you can be accepted. This is what happens in smaller groups. And then the last thing, C is what? Care. And that's a vision of the church, right? I mean, living out our faith has to give us a posture of care for one another. This is a verse, it continues from this picture of the body, and this is what it says: this makes for harmony among the members so that all the members care for each other. Go to the next slide. It says, if one part suffers, all the parts suffer with it, and if one part is honored, all the parts are glad. In other words, when we're in this space, when we're in a smaller group, we can actually see when people are struggling. We're close enough. We're in proximity of people. We know what's going on in their world and in their lives, that there's this proximity, and we can see when people are struggling or when things are going well. We can celebrate it, and we can care for people. And I mean, imagine this, like this is a responsibility of all of us to do, because there's so many of us, there's so many needs outside of here. Like this is where we are at our best when the church is functioning like this. There's this great picture that I like to see this, and it's this picture of the redwoods. And those of you who've been to Rotorua, you've seen redwoods before. But what's fascinating about these trees is that they can grow to, incredible heights, but their root system is not deep at all. Their root system is not deep at all. And generally the thought of a redwood is that if it's growing in isolation, it's very vulnerable for storms, for the wind and the effects of nature. But when they're growing amongst each other, the incredible thing about their root system is that their roots are intertwined and they grow over each other, and that's where they gain their strength. They're in proximity of each other, and even to the point, and this is something I just learned this week, that the redwoods, their root system, even when one tree is suffering or has some disease or something, the other trees share their nutrients and water through the root system. I thought that's fascinating. Like trees can do it. Trees can do it. Why can't we? Why can't we live in proximity with each other? Why can't we live intertwined, that when someone is struggling, like that's where we can show up? Later on in that passage in Galatians, Paul said this, he says, share each other's burdens. And in this way, what are we doing? We're obeying the law of Christ. Like this is what we are called to do. This is how we grow spiritually, when we're sharing each other's burdens. Goes on and he says, if you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourself. You are not that important. Paul just being real there. And that's the reality there. There's hesitations that we have, right? There's obstacles, there's reasons why we don't really connect in life groups or like the idea of getting vulnerable or getting in proximity with others. Some of those reasons could be these reasons. I'll put them up quick. Some might be just the fear of vulnerability. We don't want to kind of share everything or some things about us. We don't want to show that we're weak or we don't even know other people. So, can we even trust them? The only way to really know if we can trust them is if we trust them and if we share and we can see if we're accepted or not. But I can guarantee you, in this community, it's a safe space, right? We can share and we can be accepted. There's pride and independence. This is something we all face. Like we want to do life by ourselves. We want to be independent people living by ourselves. But generally we all arrive at some point in our life and we realize we can't do everything by ourselves. And we need help. And we need support. And in the Christian walk, like this is so true. Other reasons might be the myth of perfection. Like that I don't really think that I can be in a group or I can get close to people, because if they knew everything about me, like I wouldn't be accepted. And, actually, this is a space where grace works best. It's in that proximity when we can be real and raw and share our stuff that actually you can experience genuine connection and genuine grace and acceptance and care. And the other one that all of us kind of face is like we're just too busy. We're just too busy to actually do that. We've got so many other responsibilities, and so, yeah, we're too busy to maybe get in a group. However, some of the benefits of life groups or getting in smaller groups is that, guess what? Spiritual growth. We grow. When we're being held accountable, when we're being challenged, when we're being prayed over, when we're reading the Bible together, when we're serving together, when we're sharing our faith with each other, we grow. There's authentic relationships that naturally form. And most importantly, I believe that we're going to be a stronger church when we're connected in smaller groups. I mean, we love this place. We love Gracegate. We love all the programs, right? But we're going to be a stronger church, a church that is thriving in their faith, a church that is deep in their relationship with God when we're in smaller groups. Imagine if every single one of us was in a space where we were known, we were needed, we were encouraged, others would be able to care for us no matter what was going on in our life. If we found times hard, we could just reach out to our core group and they'd be there for us to support us and encourage us. Now today we're going to hear and listen to a story of incredible person Louise. I don't know where she is. She's somewhere, yeah. Oh, there she is. Louise came to Gracegate a couple of months ago, I think. How long has it been? 9 months. And she's been part of our community. And just take a look at her story.
So my name is Louise. I come from France. And I took a gap year to come in New Zealand to discover new cultures and a new way of life. I didn't expect much on the religion because I have a Catholic background, so I've been raised in a Catholic family where the religion was very important for us, but I never felt myself in this religion just because there was not a lot of thing to do with the young people. And when I came around high school, I just started to put it on the side, not think about it. And yeah, so when I came in New Zealand, the family told me, oh, we're going to a church if you want to discover it. By curiosity, I came, and there was a big change. So I came, there were bikes on the stage, a DJ set, stuff like this, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. People were friendly, welcoming, so I was like, oh, that's nice. I really want to be involved more. So I went to Tribe, and that was so cool. That was the first friends I made here. So yeah, Tribe helped me a lot on my integration. I never did bowling before. That was the first time for laser game too. So yeah, just small activities like this, and yeah, just discover new people with like different life, different way, where they come from, and how they met, like how they came to Gracegate. That was so like interesting for me. I think it was like very slowly. Church learned me something. I try to seek in God and on the Bible, and I love like how the church have this vision of take Bible and put it into our life, like the values and all the way you live your life and how you can bring God into every step and every action you made. So I feel the beginning of a relation with God, and I really feel that there's someone that look after me. And then I took a step back, tried to realize where he was during my life before. I really find a big difference. Yeah. one thing I'm sure is that I have a real base on my faith to come back. So I'm definitely gonna take it and try to grow it. Yeah, and I also found that there is a Hillsong group into the city I am gonna study. So I'm definitely gonna see what's happening there. And I have some friend that doesn't feel comfortable in their religion. So I talk to them and we decide to make like a small group, and we're gonna do like the same thing as the tribe. Maybe like take one day on our week and do something together. Thanks a lot, Grace Gate, especially tribe. But even Grace Gate, because each testimony of people I learn something more about and try to think deeper. And I find it like all the baptisms, wow, that's so cool. I wanted also to thank Madeleine, because that was the one person that each night we had a cup of tea and just try to have a conversation about God, about her faith. I can say that it's just the beginning of my journey, with God. Yeah. The fact that all the community helped me, even if I don't know people, everyone inspired me. And yeah, I just want to thank Grace Gate, because you make a lot of difference now. I know I'm gonna come back. I know I'm gonna like have this solid base, and I'm not gonna forget it. And I will come back, of course. And yeah, well, it's just a big thank you, to all the Grace Gate community.
Isn't that incredible? Thank you so much, Louise, for sharing your story. And she arrived on Vision Day, and if anyone's here on Vision Day, we did have a bike on the stage, and it was crazy. But how awesome that, there's a group of young adults showing up consistently week after week, and she just found community through that place. That's so cool. And if you're a young adult, can we give our young adults a hand for what they do? And just having fun together, doing things, and then also, as she shared, even Madeleine, having conversations, iron sharpens iron, each of us, constantly sharing our faith and how that inspires. And so that's just a practical way of just showing the value of life groups. But most importantly, I'm so excited, Louise, that you are going back to France, and I think it's this week, right? Yeah, on Monday. And she has a passion to start a life group, right, in France, and have her friends who are not sure about faith or religion to come and join and to explore faith. And I think that's so encouraging. And we want to wish you the best. And we know you'll come back. But it's been a pleasure to have you as part of our community. And we actually have something really small, so you really can't forget us. Kalia, would you mind passing that on to Louise as well? Let's give her another hand for sharing her story. Cool. Here's the thing. I want to inspire us and myself that life groups can make a significant difference in our faith journey and in our walk of life. And so here's a few practical steps I'm going to end with. Number one, if you're not in a life group, I'm going to encourage you to find a life group. The easiest way to do that is if you scan the QR code in front of you, you'll see there'll be a thing called groups. You can click on that and it will take you to all our groups that are currently happening at Grace Gate. And if you look at all of them and you're like, oh, none of them align with my schedule, I want to encourage you, maybe this is an opportunity for you to actually start a life group. And so maybe you feeling like, hey, you know what, I think I could do that. I could facilitate, and we'll resource you. We'll give you everything that you need to do that. So if that is you, I'm going to encourage you, scan that QR code in front of you, and you'll see there's a form there that says, hey, I'm interested in being maybe a life group leader or starting a group. If you fill that out, we'll get back to you. We'll get someone to touch base with you. But we'd love to see more life groups happening here at Gracegate. There's so many that are happening. Some are just activity-based. Some are, in the context of digging deeper into scripture or faith. And so we hope that you can find a life group and join a life group. The second point that I want to share is let's commit to regular meetups. And I think, one of the excuses that we have is that we're all busy. But honestly, if we see that this is so important, then wouldn't we prioritize meeting up with others consistently, regularly? Because if that is going to help us to not drift and to hold each other accountable, to find a space where we really experience belonging and where we really experience care for one another, then we should prioritize this. We should make this something that is important to us, and we should schedule it in. Maybe the third thing that I want to encourage us is to just be real. These spaces are a place where we can be real. We don't have to be perfect. And so do you have a space where you can actually voice the extra 10% that's really going on in your world? Because if you don't, that's where life groups are actually a really great opportunity and a place for you to be at. Point 4 is, let's encourage and challenge each other. That's the space where we really want to challenge each other and encourage each other. And when I speak about challenge, it's like we want to explore faith more. We want to encourage us to go all the way. We want to encourage each other to live better lives, to get our prayer life going more and more. And honestly, that's not going to happen on a Saturday, just by showing up every Saturday. Really, where your faith is going to take off is when we're connected with people and in small groups. And then the last point I want to share is, hey, live it out daily. And these ABCs of life group are just things that we can live out in our faith. In any case, on a daily basis, we can hold each other accountable. We can make sure that we create spaces where all people can feel a sense of belonging. And most importantly, we can live out care, because that is just another way that our faith continues to grow. There's this passage that I want to end with today, and it's about Jesus. It's about when he's at his most horrible season kind of in his walk. He's been serving for about 3.5 years on the earth, and he's with his small group, his 12 disciples. He's with them. He's having a Last Supper with them. And I think there's a lot of conflict going on in his mind and in his spirit at that time, because he realizes that one of his own in that small little life group is going to betray him. And he's like, wow, that's pretty hectic. One of his own friends. He realizes that prophecy says that all of his disciples are going to abandon him. And then also that one of his closest, Peter, is actually going to deny him 3 times. So imagine that. He's at this table, and we find this in Matthew chapter 26. All these things are happening and going through his mind. It's kind of his last time on this earth before he's going to actually be captured and taken to the cross. And there's this really incredible part that he's had this Last Supper with them, and then they go up onto this mountain. And this is what he encourages his last few, his closest inner circle to do. He says, hey, my soul is what? Crushed with grief to the point of death. You can see he's having a hard time. And then he says, stay here and keep watch with me. Basically, what I think Jesus is saying here is he's saying, I'm overwhelmed. Like, this is too much for me to even handle. And I know, guys, there's nothing that you really can do. I mean, I don't think there's anything that you guys can really do to change this situation, but I just want you guys to be with me. I just want to have proximity with some people. Think about that. This is the God of the universe. This is Jesus himself saying that he wants his inner circle to come with him and watch out for him and pray for him. This is Jesus saying he needs people. If that isn't a great perspective of faith and the importance of relationships for each one of us, then what is? That even Jesus needed others. And if you don't know this, we were created, we were wired for relationship with each other. It's not good for us to be alone. When we're alone, that's when we're hiding, that's when we're drifting, that's when we're neglecting. But when we're together, when we have our inner circle, hey, even if all of us don't have the right answers for each other, we're doing life together because life is better connected. There's support, there's care, there's hey, we can carry each other's burdens. This is the way we really grow spiritually, is when we're connected relationally. And so to close off this series, I'm going to encourage us. Hey, we've gone through all the weeks. I'm going to start here. We said, hey, really, there's so much value in reading the Bible. It's the living word. It can transform our lives. We looked at prayer and we said, prayer is this incredible conversation we can have with God, and we can hear him and he can hear us and we can talk to him, which is incredible. We saw how the value of living a generous life, how that can grow our faith and the difference that makes. We looked at the value of sharing our faith and seeking God. And last week we saw the value of actually resting and how that can actually help us to grow in our spiritual journey. And today I want to encourage us that the best way to do all of these things is in community. When we're reading the word together, that's really when there's so much great accountability and encouragement. When we're praying together, we experience God in a way that we can't experience when we're just alone. When we're serving others together, we're hyped. We're like, wow, this really makes a difference. When we're sharing our faith together, we can see the impact that it has. Look at Louisa's story of when we share our faith and when we're resting well together, when we're refilling our tanks together as a life group. That's where life really matters. And so my encouragement is today, for me, this is personal because I realized, and my wife and I have been speaking about this, like this is something that's lacking in our walk currently. We don't have people we can be that real with, and actually we need that. We need that consistency, because that consistency is really going to make the biggest difference. We need people who are going to challenge us in our faith journey. If we don't do that, we're naturally going to continuously drift. And so, hey, we want to see how can we start another life group? What can we do? If you're not in a life group, hey, maybe get in a group. Get in a space where you can be known and needed. Because I'm telling you, if Jesus needed community, so do we. So God, today it's our heart. As we go through this whole series, we're trying to instill some practices in our daily life that help us grow in our relationship with you and with each other. And I pray, God, that in spaces that maybe are uncomfortable for us, I pray that you'll give us the courage to embrace those spaces, because I know that's where we experience you in so many new ways. God, I want this church to be real. I don't want this church just to be an Instagram highlight reel. I want this church to be fully known and needed, each individual. I want them to find belonging and care and accountability. And we know that isn't up to just one person. It's up to all of us, just showing up, getting connected, being part of something where they can really be seen and heard and known. And so today, God, I pray whatever you got to do, that you'll do it. Help us to action all this stuff, because the value in it is when we apply it. Give us the courage to do that, is our prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
We're going to sing a song now that's been a bit of a theme for this series called Lord Send Revival. I encourage you guys to stand. And as we're singing this song, actually it's worded the same way as a prayer. It's us, each line is us praying to God, Lord, send your spirit, send your healing, send your love down onto us so we can feel that you're with us, Lord. Make this space new, make my heart new. So as we sing this, don't think about it as singing, think about it as praying. Think about it as praying as a community, for our community, for each other, for ourselves, for our family and our friends. And give it everything.
Peace like a river wash over me. Immerse me in water as deep as the sea. Hide me in love, your healing embrace. Peace like a river wash over me as I worship your majesty. I worship your holy name, Jesus, my everything. All that I am is yours. Come, Holy Spirit, rain down on me. Break open the heavens, drench the unseen. Pour out your presence as I pour out your praise. Come, Holy Spirit, Lord, have your way as I worship your majesty. I worship your holy name, Jesus, my everything. All that I am is yours. I worship your majesty. I worship your holy name, Jesus, my everything. All that I am is yours. Open the heavens, fling wide the gates, flood every heart with mercy. Pour out your presence, inhabit our praise as we cry, holy, holy. Open the heavens, fling wide the gates, flood every heart with mercy. Pour out your presence, inhabit our praise as we cry, holy, holy. Open the heavens, fling wide the gates, flood every heart with mercy. Pour out your presence, inhabit our praise
know this might be uncomfortable for some of us, but I feel like if we discuss all this stuff and we leave ya not doing it, like we haven't tasted the value of genuine community and just being connected. And so I'm just going to encourage us while the band keeps playing. Can we just turn to the person next to us? And if they're okay with it, can we just say a prayer for them? Can we just ask, hey, what can I pray for you today? And can we just voice a prayer? It doesn't have to be an incredible prayer with all the right words. Just a hey God, can you just be with this person? Can we do that? Is that okay? Let's just take a few minutes and just pray for each other. Let's find someone. Let's not leave anyone hanging. And let's just say a few words of encouragement and prayer for each other. Say prayer. The weight of life can really get overwhelming at times and can bring us down, but the value of community, of acceptance, of belonging, and of trusting in a God who can make a difference in our lives makes everything so much better. And so yeah, let's sing. We're gonna end with singing this song. Let's give it all our heart and soul. Let's bring all our worries, our stresses, everything to God, and just declare and claim these lyrics as we sing them.
Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now. A move of your spirit. Heaven break out. Come now in power. Cover this land like you've done it before. Would you do it again? Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now. A move of your spirit. Heaven break out. Come now in power. Cover this land like you've done it before. Would you do it again? Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now.
Jules has shared today that you just really want to talk to someone about, we're going to have some people down the side here of the stage, and they will be very happy to chat with you and pray for you. As Joel said earlier in the welcome, Next Gen is the new series starting next week, and we actually have a trailer to show you to see what we'll be in for. So if you take a look at the screen.